I've been doing a podcast every Wednesday for the last month or so, and thus I decided to make a podcast thumbnail. I wanted to have something dedicated to that playlist specifically. That's what it is, really. It's a podcast playlist. It's a set of videos where I just talk about things art related, art, existentiality of art, if you will, philosophical sides of art, the science of art, just kind of stuff, anything related to that. Anyway, I can kind of wiggle my thoughts in things that I feel like I don't have any other platform for. You may be there for a colored pencil review, and then I start talking about how and oils are binded into colored pencils, and you don't want to hear about that. So I was trying to find a way to segregate those things and still have a way to talk about them. And so here we are, the podcast. And I also wanted it to be an excuse to draw a random character every week, just to be artsy fartsy, just to do something different, to not have any kind of preconceived notion of what I'm going to be doing, and to let mistakes be mistakes as they were, and not even be mistakes because I'm not planning anything. The only thing I plan, I should say, is I have an idea of what character I want to draw, but I have no idea how he's going to come out, or she, or what it's going to be. You know, some of them where the one guy is stapling his own forehead, I have no idea what it's about. You know, it's just randomness. It's just kind of like absurdly shocking, but also kind of like, what am I actually looking at? It's not meant to have any purpose. It's just something to do. And not to be sold or not to necessarily improve, just to kind of draw something, just have fun. And that because of that, I wanted to make a character that kind of represents that. And so I did this cartoon guy of myself, basically. Yeah, he's spitting at the mic. To record these videos, I use an SM58, a Shure SM58. And if you don't know what that is, it's a vocal mic, and it's really meant for live vocals. But if you know what you're doing with audio, more or less, which I kind of know what I'm doing, I've been doing audio for a long time, it works well. It does the job that I need to do. And it's nowhere near the price of more high-end expensive cardioid mics, which, again, I don't want to get into too much of that, but I use a relatively inexpensive mic compared to what you could spend on a microphone. And similarly, I don't use high-end gear for recording. I use my phone. That's what I have. That's what I use. It does a good enough job, I think, so I haven't heard any complaints. I've actually gotten compliments about that, so that's pretty cool. And I've had crappier cameras in the past. I've had crappier mics in the past. So I'm pretty happy with the setup I have right now. And as such, I figured I would do some podcasts. And so that's why I drew this guy. He's spitting ridiculously at the mic because that's me running in my mouth. That's me with the Bob Ross beard thing going on. My hair does look like that half the time. I don't even try. It just looks that way. I'm not trying to look that way, I promise. Yeah, that's why I have him spitting at a vocal mic, because that's what I use. The gold in this background, for the record, and you won't see it on this time lapse. The gold is Legend of Zelda gold. Basically, I actually pulled it from a Zelda cartridge. I thought it was a little softer than like a bright yellow, but still sort of playful. Yeah, there's not really much to be said about him. I mean, he's cartoony. I think it's fun to draw cartoons because there's nothing holding you back. Like, as long as you have an idea of perspective and things like that, you can make a pretty convincing cartoon. The cartoons let us just be kind of wild and random and not be so concerned with proportion and correctness and whatever. And that's why I like to do these podcasts, because I can just not have to worry about correctness. I don't have to worry about, in most cases, color theory. I just do like a pencil scribble and just trying to come up with character ideas, because for a long time now I've been thinking about doing an animation. The animations I usually do they're funny, but they don't have any continuity between them. They're not episodic. They're just random jokes. Specifically, the pet peeve ones that I've been releasing recently, I've had them for a long time. They were on a separate channel, but decided to put them on here. So I was trying to consolidate everything and also maintain a lane, and thus this podcast playlist. And so hopefully these podcasts are useful to someone, that you guys enjoy them. I'm just trying to hang out with you and, be a part of the community, really. Just try to give my 2 cents. Everybody's got perspective. I feel like everybody's perspective is valuable, in my opinion. We can all learn from each other. And I think that's a good reason to share things, Also, it can get kind of lonely doing art by yourself, obviously. And lonely in the sense that you don't have anybody really to share it with that could also appreciates your point of view about artwork and stuff. Somebody who doesn't have any interest in doing art is probably just looks at you like, okay, great. I'm going back to what I'm doing now. And I understand. I mean, they're not interested, and that's just the way things go. Your spouse is going to listen to you. Hopefully your spouse will. The person or your partner, your your significant other, whomever, whatever you want to call whoever you're with, or whatever the case may be, your friends, whatever. I'm sure they're going to lean on you. Can lean on them, and they try to understand. But if they're not interested in art at all, you're kind of alone in that sense. So I'm trying to share it with people who might find benefit or interest in it, and thus my random thoughts on this podcast. It's not a traditional podcast. I'm just trying to share what I'm thinking, or something I feel like I hasn't either. It's not that it hasn't been said. It's just I haven't said my piece about it. I'm just sharing my piece. That's all it really comes down to. So yeah, if you're interested in art talk in general, I'm pretty much just going to touch on everything. You know, the why of art, the why do you do it? Why do we do it? What is art? Like those kind of burning questions. Now, those kind of questions that don't really have definitive answers, but I have a point of view on, and just to invoke conversation, hopefully, and thoughtfulness, and get yourself moving around, get your brain moving, thinking about the process of art and why do we do it, and what does it even mean, Basil? What does it all mean, Basil? Yeah, I'm highly introspective. I'm always thinking about what I'm doing, how I can improve, what I'm doing wrong, mistakes I've made, that kind of thing. Sure, but I don't beat myself up about them. I try to not beat myself up too much about it. I just try to lean on, okay, do I have any bad habits I need to kick? If am I using my pencil wrong or something, or am I, whatever the case may be, just something. It doesn't matter what it is. Is there some way I could push myself? Am I able to learn more? What kind of, you can always learn something new. You can always glean something, even if it's small. You learn from things you don't like just as much as things that you do. So it's important to go out and look at other people's stuff, communicate with other artists, but try to be healthy about it. I see too much negativity in, certain spaces, I will say. I won't name names, but certain spaces are aggressive with what they think maybe is constructive criticism is really just criticism. And it's fine to be like, hey, you could do this, you could do that. But you have to remember how you would approach something isn't necessarily how they're going to approach it. So I'm just trying to keep an open mind, and also, like I said, throw my hat in the ring, do some 2 cents in there, give you my opinion, and hopefully it's useful for somebody, or if nothing else, it might spark an idea, spark an art talk, something. I don't know. But that's the reason I'm doing them. I'm just trying to have fun. Honestly, the podcast Wednesdays are really meant to be, and the podcast, by the way, I don't think I mentioned this. The name of this podcast that I'm doing every Wednesday is Absurdly Speaking, Characters and Creativity. So all I'm really doing is using the character as a basis for visual eye candy. You know what I'm saying? Just some eye candy so you can, or at least something to focus on while I'm talking, rather than it just be a purely raw podcast. More than welcome not to watch what I'm drawing. That's fine. But that's why I do it. The characters don't necessarily represent what I'm drawing, but I think this last one, it does. The last one I did was a fire hose, and the character's trying to drink from the fire hose, which is funny, right? It's absurd, and that's what I'm going for, just absurd stuff. And also, using that, going forward, I'm going to try to make it so that the character represents the video. So, in this case, drinking from a fire hose, it was trying to take on too much when you're learning something new, or when you're learning it all. It's fine to learn lots of things. That's how I do it. However, you gotta just take it in little incremental bites, kind of chip away at it, and not try to, again, drink from fire hose. Don't try to take all the information in at one time and expect to understand it all. It's fine to overview it all, to kind of be introduced to the concepts and stuff, but then practice on little things, and to get better at those little things, and eventually you'll be good at it all. But also remember, have fun. But anyway, that's in the video. If you feel like watching it. But that's it. I think that this podcast is fun, and I just want to have some fun and share some ideas and thoughts with everybody. So that's it for this one, and hopefully I'll see y'all in the comments. Peace.